Welcome back. I didn't really know what I was going to do today. I just wanted to use some products that I've not actually got around to using yet and some that I've not used a lot of. So this is what I've come up with. I'm going to start by using the Bourjois Healthy Mix Serum Foundation, and I think I'm using a beige shade. I can't remember what number it is. So I've cleansed, toned and moisturised my skin before applying my foundation, and I'm just going to work that in all over using my beauty blender, and the sponge is damp. For eyes, I'm going to be using this Blanc Fusion palette by Zoeva. I've never used this palette, so I thought why not give it a go and see what we come up with. I'm going to be using Question of Taste, which is a medium matte brown, and to apply that I'm using my 221 Luxe Soft Crease Brush by Zoeva. So we're going to be creating a spotlight effect eye using matte finishes. So we want to use the lightest matte brown shade to contour the eye socket. We always start with the lightest shade because that's the colour that we're going to be taking up the highest, and we usually work our darkest colours in on the mobile eyelid and into the socket itself. So you want to dip your brush into your product and dust off the excess and then work that around the socket of your eye. And you can see I've taken that on the inner corner as well as the outer corner, and I'm also pulling that underneath the lower lash line and out at that outer corner. The next brown we're using is a little bit deeper than the shade that we first used, and on my MAC 239 brush I'm going to apply this to the mobile eyelid on the outer corner and the inner corner. Now we are going to be going over this with a different shade from the palette, but because the payoff of the other shade isn't that intense, we need a darker shade underneath it to really intensify that colour. So sometimes it's about layering colours in order to make other colours work better. Then going back in with my fluffy blending brush, I'm softening the seams of that so it blends into our first eyeshadow nicely. I'm also taking that same colour underneath the lower lashes, and as I always say, make sure you connect that with the outer corner of the top eyelid. This is going to frame the eye so everything flows nicely. Next we're taking Last Bite, which in the flesh is actually like a purpley brown, and that's another reason why I wanted to put a brown eyeshadow underneath it so it would diminish a little bit of that purple tone. I'm using the same 239 brush to apply this. I'm tracing over where we've just applied the other eyeshadow, and you can see I'm leaving a spot in the centre with no colour on. Then I'm going back in with my blending brush again to soften the seams, and I'm also connecting the eyeshadows through the socket in a window wiper motion. You'll often find when you use a blending brush you lose a lot of the colour, so you want to reapply it to intensify it, and this is also going to aid the longevity because you're layering the product. I'm using the very tip of the brush to connect the eyeshadows in the socket. Now don't worry if you get some of the eyeshadow on the section that we're leaving blank, because we're going to be going over that with a concealer anyway. Using the same 239 brush, I'm also applying Last Bite underneath the lower lashes over the brown eyeshadow. If you want to create a spotlight on the lower lash line too, you can also leave the centre blank. The concealer I'm using is Too Faced Born This Way, and I'm going to dab a couple of dots onto the centre of our mobile eyelid. Then using a flat concealer brush, I'm going to work that into the centre and feather it outwards. To do this, just use a very light tapping motion at the edges so you're patting it into the eyeshadow that's already on the eyelid. You want to repeat the same on the other eye, and then I'm going to go back in with a small amount of concealer again and repeat this process. The reason for this is so that we lighten this area of our eyelid so that the colour that we put on is going to be more true to the colour that's in the eyeshadow pan, instead of us trying to apply it straight onto the skin and it coming out quite muddy. Then I'm going back in with my 239 brush and just reapplying some of the Last Bite and feathering that towards the centre. We're also going to do the same on the inner corner of the eye, so we're just leaving a spotlight effect on the very centre of our mobile eyelid. And you can see by adding the concealer then reapplying the eyeshadow, we get that really beautiful gradient between the colours. And now the centre's light enough for us to go in with a brighter shade, and we won't lose any of the clarity of the colour, nor will it look muddy. The colour we're using here is Single Origin, which is a light creamy gold shade. It has got a subtle shimmer to it, which is going to reflect the light, which is going to make our eyelid look bigger in the centre. Then I'm going to go back in with my 239 brush and Last Bite, and again I'm going to fade a little bit of that colour towards the centre, and that's going to create a nice gradient between the two shades. Then using my small crease brush and a very small amount of Question of Taste, which was the original brown shade that we used, I'm just reapplying some of that colour. Next I'm taking this brown liquid liner by Lancome, and I'm going to run that along the top lash line very close to the root, and then I'm going to create a flick at the end. You can do whatever you like. If you want to keep the eyes quite rounded, don't apply a flick. So I'm drawing the line up and out in one fluid motion, and then turning the tip round and pulling the colour back on myself to create the thickness. Then I'm going to apply one coat of mascara to my top lashes as well as my bottom lashes, and I'm using the Too Faced Better Than Sex mascara. Then off camera I'm going to apply some false lashes. I do have a tutorial on how to apply false lashes, so I won't go into it today. I'm going to use this black Kohl pencil by Zoeva from the Black Box collection, and this is one of the darkest, most inkiest black eyeliners I've ever used. It's fantastic. And I'm going to run this along the waterline and tight line. And I'll just show you the false lashes I'm going to be applying. I will link them in the description bar. To lift under the eyes, I'm using Maybelline's Eraser Eye Concealer. This one is a couple of shades lighter than my natural skin tone, and then I'm blending that in with a beauty blender that is damp. It's only going to be very, very subtle. I'm not looking for anything super defining. It's just going to brighten underneath the eyes. It's a great subtle trick to make you look more awake and well rested. Next I'm taking the Mighty Contourer by Soap & Glory. I'd never used this before. This was the first time I'd used it. You can see underneath it also contains a blush and a highlighter. I'm using my Zoeva Definer Buffer Brush to apply this into the hollows of the cheeks, and I'm also going to work it around the hairline. Now the consistency and payoff of the product is really brilliant. The only thing I don't like is the actual colour of it. I believe I've got medium. For me it's just too red. In the flesh it's really, really warm, but not like a orange warm, it's like a red warm. And it works fine when you've got a full face of makeup, but this isn't something that you would be able to get away with for a natural kind of sun-kissed look. For me, it's just too red. Don't get me wrong, I don't dislike the product. It's just not something I'm used to, and I don't know whether I would reach for it. I'm naturally a little bit more on the olive yellowy side. I think if you're someone who goes quite red during the summer months and you need something that's less yellow, then this could be for you. I'm going to add a small amount of the Vichy Derma Blend through the centre of my face just to mattify my skin. And I'm using my MAC Powder Puff to press that in. Next I'm going in with my Too Faced Sweet Peach Glow palette, and I'm using the highlighter that's on the left. This palette is right up my street because I'm not a fan of the highlighters you can see from space. My skin is naturally textured in areas, and highlighters just emphasise bumpy skin. It's not great. So if you want something that's really subtle, then this is definitely the one for you. I'm using this blush from the Zoeva Nude Spectrum blush palette, and I'm using my new favourite blush brush by Makeup Forever, which I will list in the description bar below for you, and I'm applying that to the apples of the cheeks and pulling it backwards. You know I prefer to go for a nude lip, so I'm using the Too Faced Nude Lip Injection Gloss, and the colour I'm using is Milkshake. This is really, really beautiful. Be warned, these are for lip plumping. It is a really intense tingle and it lasts for about 20 minutes. If you're looking for something for Valentine's Day and you prefer cool tones and you want something smoky but not too intense, then definitely give this one a go. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to hit subscribe if you haven't already done so. Don't forget to follow me on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. I don't really use Twitter, but I've got it. And you can follow me on Snapchat. Snapchat is at Shonagh Scott. All the rest are at ShowMe MakeUp. Facebook is at ShowMe MakeUp. It's not Shonagh Scott. I think that's everything. If you've got any requests, leave them in the comments section below and I'll do my best to get back to you. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again soon. Bye.